Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's The Business Program. I'm writer, director, and showrunner Bernie Sue. Before we are joined by our guests today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. For the past year, the foundation has given over $6.5 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask, and if you can, please give. Information can be found in the description of the video. Thank you for your support. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Zadi Diaz, Blaire Erskine, Ryan Ken, and Aymar Jean Christian, the panelists. Let's begin. The purpose of this conversation is to talk about the alternate pathways to success for performers, and knowing that a lot of the people watching this panel are going to be actors, whether they're SAG-AFTRA members currently or not. I want to make sure that we continue to remind ourselves that that is the lens of the audience that we're talking to my fellow panelists. And before we get into it, I'd like them to each introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Blaire, please. Introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah. I'm Blaire Erskine. I am a person on Twitter. I do videos on Twitter, and I went viral last year, and here I am now, still doing it.
A little quick rebuttal. Do you act now? Do you perform?
I do. Well, I'm auditioning like everybody else, but yeah, I studied acting in school. I was a theater kid. I studied film in college, and yeah, so I'm trying to act, but I'm mostly a writer right now.
Got it. Very cool. Very cool. Let's move on. Ryan, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ryan Ken. I am also someone who does Twitter videos and shenanigans on the internet. Similarly to Blaire, last year was a moment of me trying to find some outlets for creativity, but the pandemic happened. And so I started posting things online and have found a really cool community of people, and now get to do cool stuff like this. So I'm excited to be here.
Very awesome. And just to clarify, you are also an actor.
I am, and a writer, and I'm confidently saying that now.
Awesome.
See?
As you should. Zadi, let's keep it going.
Hey, so my name is Zadi Diaz. I'm a producer director. Started in the digital space as a creator. So I know it really well. Worked with companies like Disney and DreamWorks and YouTube, and I love working with artists and creators. I consider myself an artist as well. And so I just want to see everyone succeed. And as much as I can help, I am here and willing to help.
Awesome. Good to see you, Zadi. I know it's been a while. We go way back. So, and also AJ, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aymar Jean Christian, or AJ Christian. I'm an associate professor of communication studies at Northwestern University. I've been studying digital creation for now almost 15 years, and have written about some people on this panel right here. I also started a nonprofit platform for intersectional television called OTV. So I have, over the past 5 years, worked with a lot of emerging artists, mostly writers, and counseled them on their careers and leveraging their indie video work.
Awesome. Great to have everybody here. Just to restate who I am, I'm Bernie Sue. I am a writer, producer, showrunner. I've been doing digital series, web series, online shows for a decade. Now it's been that long. Very, very familiar with the rise of the influencer space, the actors influencer space. A lot to talk about there, but I'm your moderator today, so I'll be trying to be doing more moderating than and chiming in when applicable. But I feel that having seen both sides of this, I can at least try to guide this discussion to be the most helpful for all of you actors who are looking to find alternate pathways to success. So getting into this right away from this, I like to try to throw it to the actors in this. AJ is not an actor, and I know I didn't ask that, and I know Zadi's not an actor, so I didn't ask that. But like what the success as an actor today. I mean, I'm not saying that what you're doing is successful or not successful. I know you both use social media to post a lot of skit content, comedy content from my kind of research on it. Great stuff. But from the actor's perspective of success today, what do you think that is, that definition? I'm going to throw that definition back to Zadi and AJ too, but I like to start with you two because you are actors. Like, what do you think that is right now?
That's a big question. I'll try to take a stab at it. someone for whom this is a relatively new practice that I've been taking on. And so my experience with making the videos was never necessarily to have success as an actor. I was someone who was going to be really happy doing local theater and working a regular job. And it just so happened that there's been this sort of engagement. But for me, success has looked like, in part because I think this has kind of been a training tool for me, success has looked like having a community of people who regularly engage with my work. I've gotten opportunities to be in writers' rooms because of this. I've gotten invited to act. And all of this was sort of beyond my wildest imagination. And I think having the ability to kind of do some of this on your own, do it independently. I'm not necessarily waiting for somebody to cast me in some of these characters, because nobody's going to cast me to play Bernie Sanders, but I can do it. And I think it's provided some opportunities where people can see me in the things that I would like to see, or see the worlds that I'm interested in building. And now it's really cool that I'm getting invited to do some world building with other people. But I think it can look very, very different for a lot of people. But that's what it's looked like so far. I feel, I'm not on a big screen yet, but I feel pretty successful, sort of beyond what I kind of imagined.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Blaire?
Yeah, I agree with Ryan as far as, everything that has happened thus far has been beyond my wildest dreams too. So it all feels like, little successes along the way. I am a person who wanted to be an actor, and then I kind of pivoted to writing. And I've really had an interest in both this whole time. And I think success has been, like Ryan said, having a community of people to engage with, and sort of getting to be in control of, I don't want to say brand, I hate that word, but, I remember going to auditions for these roles I was never going to get, and now I get to sort of write my own roles in these like stupid little videos that I post on Twitter, and people like them. And then people reach out to us with roles that they think that we'd be good for. And I think, the success for me is just having an opportunity. I think just having opportunities and continuing to have these opportunities and making our own opportunities that we wanted for ourselves as well.
Awesome. I'm going to kind of do a little quick recap and then throw it to Zadi and AJ here for their commentary on this. So from the actor's perspective, what I just heard, so you both act, you do act and other things, you write and everything, okay? You both perform many different characters on your own avenues or your own distribution that you control, sort of. You have your own Instagrams or your TikToks or whatever. Lots of people watch them, so they are presumably enjoying them. That's why they're still watching them. If they didn't enjoy them, they stop watching them, right? So you're getting to perform all these characters. You're being an artist. You're being creative, right? You're not on a network television show right now as a regular. You're not a star on the marquee of a movie per se yet. I mean, I assume you wouldn't say no to those opportunities, but they're not there. Like, those aren't the qualifications for success in your mind as artists. You're performing. You have an audience. You're being creative. You're finding that purpose there. That's enjoyable. Just want to make sure I've covered that. Disagreement there? You want to add there before I throw it to the others?
I think that's a pretty fair recap.
Awesome. Very cool. So Zadi, AJ, you've been in the space with me a long time. We've seen this rise. Before when you started, when I met both of you almost like a decade ago, it was like actors going to auditions and that was it. They weren't creating their own stuff. Okay. And now you have two examples here right in front of us where they're creating their own stuff. They're being fulfilled. They're having audiences now. The rise of the creator, influencer space, we'll say, performing. What do you say to that as we've progressed? I haven't talked to either of you two in a while. Like, what do you say to these examples in front of us? And for now, let's start with that. These two right here. Zadi, I'll cover you.
I think you're doing amazing. I think this is from both what Ryan and Blaire said. What I take away from it is the success is really based on resonance, right? And so when we're resonating with other people who we don't usually see on screen and giving voice to communities that we don't usually see, I mean, there's something completely powerful about that. And it is a type of renaissance that's been happening for the past few years now, but really now is sort of this kind of hockey stick moment, I guess, where it's just like you're seeing it exponentially rise. It's just the power that we are able to kind of harness with all of these platforms and tell our own stories. And as far as being on the big screen, I almost feel like, we're moving to a place where these are deeper screens, right? These are screens where you're able to build communities on a much more engaging level than any star on the big screen can ever hope for. And I wonder, there have been conversations about, I think it was Matt Damon or somebody said, like, the actors of yesterday are just not maybe as relevant anymore, like the way that it's done. So I think there's a lot to explore, and it's just like the most fun time right now.
Throwing to AJ before you go, I know you do a lot of studying and analysis on this type of thing, so I'm really curious to see like the progression of this over the decade, but go for it.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting to see the development of the industry that would allow for people like Blaire and Ryan to kind of think about a career outside of Hollywood, right? Hollywood is still very powerful. There's still billions of dollars in Hollywood. So getting cast in a big screen movie or TV show, those checks are cute, right? Like everybody knows it's a cute check. You can buy a house, However, when I started researching YouTube in 2007, there were no brands putting money into digital content creation. Not nearly at the scale as we have now. A lot of people were scared of the internet. And I think, it was just a New York Times article just last week that said the influencer economy really is here now. There are investors for platforms that serve influencers. Influencers are getting much bigger sponsorship deals. Brands are doubling down on their influencer deals. So if you can perform and have that resonance that Zadi's talking about, right? And you can connect to people, that is an incredibly powerful currency. I think especially in this age where brands are really kind of skeptical of algorithmically driven advertising, right? Like there's so much content on the internet now. They don't know where their brand image is going to go if they just put it on YouTube and just say it can go anywhere, right? It could be on a really extreme video that's very anti their brand. So your brand as an artist is really powerful because they know that you have a voice, you have values, you have ethics, you have a perspective. And if that matches with them, you can get paid outside of the Hollywood system, right? Those dollars are going from ads on ABC to folks like Blaire and Ryan, right? So there's literally a kind of upending that's happening of the system in the advertising space. And as Hollywood is moving now to subscription, which I could not have seen coming a decade ago, now that all these platforms are subscription-based, they have less ads. So there's opportunities for an actor to really create your own revenue stream outside of this industry and not have to audition, but you can actually make your own opportunities.
Amazing. Total great setup, AJ, for my next question. so as much as you're willing to share, you two, Ryan and Blaire, I'd like to know about, and Zadi, I know you did this before as a content creator as well, so please comment on this.
Bernie, can I ask one quick thing? I need to close this window just so that it saves everybody.
Close the window, okay. I'm going to ask that. Go ahead. So Ryan and Blaire, let's talk about the sustainability of this, all right? So, it's hard enough getting an actor's gig, right? It's so hard. Getting a network role, a recurring is like winning the lotto in many ways, right? So, and we know it's already hard. The status quo is hard. The status quo is luck. The status quo is knowing, having these other things that may not be under your control. But you get to control your own posting. You get to control what content you get to put out. You get to control the characters, the writing content, right? So then the question is always asked about, all right, do you get the brand deals? Is it enough? Is it sustainable? Is it just a supplemental income? Is it the income? Like, where are you guys in that stage? And are you trying to make it the thing? Like, this is going to be it. I'm going to live off my personality and my audience. I'll start with Ryan again. Throw it to you, Ryan.
It's an interesting question. And I think also the framing of what you can control on these platforms is also really interesting to me, particularly as someone who is a Black queer creator using these platforms, using humor in a certain kind of way that is often pointed in a cultural critique. I am aware when navigating these platforms that I am not in control of it and that I don't own the means of these particular things. I, like a lot of other creators, have been up against censorship on TikTok and a lot of these platforms. And so part of what I've recently come to the realization about is that some of my time on these platforms will eventually sunset. And a lot of how I relate or how I understand the videos is they were never really intended for me to go viral. They were intended for them to be acting exercises, basically kind of etudes, and me trying out things that I hadn't gotten to try before. I'd never done accents. I'd never done characters in this particular kind of way. And so it's really cool that a lot of people are engaged. But I think for me, there's sometimes a misunderstanding for how I approach it and what people might see. So there's a lot of there's engagement on my TikToks, there's engagement on my videos. And so when I talk to Hollywood, I get a lot of let's do TikTok the show. And that's not necessarily what I'm interested in. And I think for me, I want to be very clear about this is a stage and a platform that I think is important and valuable. And I'm not seeking to sort of run away immediately, but this is one sort of piece of a training or creating a body of work. And I'm grateful that people like the videos and this format and this content, but wait till I get a budget. That's a lot of how I kind of think about this work in particular, but also being very mindful of what I can and cannot control.
Awesome. Blaire, I'm just gonna
Yeah, I agree with Ryan, what they said, especially about it being one piece of a larger body of work, because I'm mostly just on Twitter. I tried TikTok. I'll post on TikTok when I remember that I can download that app and do that. I don't have the bandwidth in my brain for all of these platforms, because just being on Twitter alone, just as a person on Twitter, it's hard. Anybody on Twitter, even if you're not making videos, it gets to be a lot just scrolling. So I'm trying to sort of control how much I'm consuming on a daily basis. And so I don't see myself being an internet person for the rest of my career. That's certainly not ever what I envisioned for myself. And I'm very thankful for the opportunities that have come from it. But like Ryan said, I just want it to be a piece of the story. And whenever I went viral, which I never expected, like Ryan, I used it as an exercise, because I was doing improv and stand up before the pandemic hit. And then when you can't do that anymore, front facing character videos are just what you go to, as much as you never wanted to do that, because everybody makes fun of me for it. So we're brave, actually.
You are brave, right? Look, you're brave. You're brave.
Clown so much.
You're brave.
But it's whenever I went viral, I was like, I want to capitalize on this in the sense that I want to keep making the videos that are, do well and are popular, and the ones that resonate with people, and the ones that I want to do. I never wanted to make a video that I, wasn't psyched about or didn't stand behind, right? But I wanted to get myself out there in front of casting directors who are on Twitter, and people staffing writing rooms, and it worked, and now we're getting these general meetings. I'm sure Ryan knows what I'm talking about. And you have these general meetings with these network people, and they do want they're like expecting you sometimes to just be the character that you were in your most popular video, or create a show based off of that. And I don't want to pigeonhole myself, I guess is what I'm saying. So no, I don't envision doing this forever. And I haven't had any brand partnerships or anything like that either. So maybe it's easier for me to say that, because I haven't relied on this as a source of income, strictly online.
Ryan, any brand partnerships on your side?
Not at the moment. I've gotten to do some partnerships with folks around civic engagement, but cool. I think even the ways that some of those opportunities map out, I think there's sometimes a belief that our technologies will be neutral spaces that are free of our biases. But I think even the ways that some of those opportunities map out around who gets to have the most influence, who has the algorithm on their side and who is the algorithm working against, I think that it might be more of a challenge for someone like me to find some of those opportunities. And that's not necessarily what I've been seeking out. I am not going to say no to nobody's check. Well, no, some people's check I will say no to. But for the most part, if there's an alignment of values, I would love for that to be able to be something that pays the rent. But I think too, what I'm mindful of is that these are not, I think we can have the impression that social media is a complete public square, but it is not. It is the purview of a private company. And private companies can be around for a long period of time. They can also go away. And even all of the stages, I think we learned even during COVID, that all of the stages that we perform on are more precarious than we might have believed. So I want to be open to whatever medium, and I'm really like having a good time on the internet right now.
Yeah.
But if that changes, I will find new stages.
Amazing. Just want to set this, just kind of do a open thing where if you guys have questions for each other or from me, just jump in. Like I doesn't have to be so moderated, right? I want to feel like a discussion. But Zadi and AJ, like, you know, so you've heard what these two have done so far. You know, we've been around a while. Any kind of thoughts, suggestions? This is the rah, it's awesome, keep going. Hey, you should try doing this. Anything.
I was really hopeful about the internet when I first started researching. And it's interesting, if you read my book, some people read it as hopeful, some people read it as pessimistic because things were shifting as I was writing it. Like, I think I finished the draft in like 2016, 2017, like right after the election, right? Which I think was a big wake-up call for people because our former president had put out millions of videos online and totally gamed the algorithms to win. And it seemed very oppositional to what had happened in 2008, where it seemed truly grassroots. When Obama got elected, like algorithms weren't as aggressive then, right? It was genuine engagement and genuine excitement. So I do think what Ryan is saying is really important to understand, right? That like, as much as the internet allows you to avoid the Hollywood gatekeepers, there's another gatekeeper. And the problem with those gatekeepers is you can't talk to them, right? It's just a machine that nobody knows. Nobody knows how it works, right? Nobody knows the full complexity of the algorithm. It's created as artificial intelligence. So you have to be super specific about how you use that platform and the limitations of it. I think what Ryan is saying about TikTok is really coming out now, just in the past couple months, about the ways in which the algorithm is disadvantaging Black creators in a big way. That's why there was a strike on TikTok over the last month. People are noticing that certain hashtags on TikTok will take you down certain rabbit holes. They will take you away from certain things, right? This is because these platforms now have so much higher engagement than when we started out, Bernie and Zadi. Like, there's just so much more content. They have so much more moderation to do. So it's more aggressive, right? And it can shift very rapidly against you if you are a creator. So what do? I mean, in capitalism, unfortunately, businesses survive, right? So you have to treat your acting like a business, and businesses have multiple revenue streams. So your TikTok, your social media engagement is one stream of your revenue, where you might get a brand deal every once in a while. Maybe it doesn't pay your bills every year, right? But that engagement that you're getting might get you those meetings in Hollywood, might get you a book publisher, you know, interested in you. If you wanted to make your own stuff and create an indie project, which is what I help a lot of actors do, you can crowdfund. You have an audience who's ready there to hear what you're going to say. So I think it's about skill development and really taking those seriously, right? It makes a lot of sense that Blaire and Ryan are also writing, right? Because that's another lane that gets you another possible revenue stream. Directing, producing, I've seen it so many times through OTV, where an actor, you know, in Chicago isn't getting cast in theater shows. So like, I'm gonna write my own TV show and fundraise for it, direct and produce it. They act in it. I think having a writer-actor combo is really powerful. You are the voice of the show, you're the face of the show. And then they're like, oh wait, I can direct too, that's easy. I mean, Sam Bailey, who launched our platform with us, did a really low budget web series called You're So Talented. Spent, I think, a couple $1,000s on it, got it into Tribeca. You know, she's now repped, she's directing for major TV shows. She sold her feature film. Like, it can happen, but you have to focus on developing those alternative skills so that you're not reliant on any one platform or any one stream of revenue.
Zadi, you have a leaf blower behind you. I'm inviting you to talk. Want me to pause on that? Okay, all good. All good. So I mean, I'm just kind of go from an analytical point of view from my experience in this. And again, like AJ, Zadi, and I go way back, and we saw the rise of YouTube and the development of it and the maturity of it, where it's not like YouTube is a mainstream platform now. Twitter is a mainstream platform, right? So TikTok is probably not there yet, but it's looked like it's going there. So what I find interesting is the path that both you, Blaire and Ryan, talked about is this kind of idea of you have a personality, you've built this persona. It's almost like you're doing your own show. Like, kind of in our world, it's like the web series of your personality, right? Then some executive somewhere or producer somewhere goes like, oh, we got to talk to this person. You go in for the general and it's like, hey, how do we develop a show based on what you do online? Because 1, it's funny, 2, it works, and 3, you got an audience, right? Like, so it's kind of those 3 things. And that is a narrative that has happened time and time again over every year, multiple people get these deals. Now, like to be clarified, the deal does not mean the show goes into production or goes on the air. The deal is just the deal, right? Development, okay, is very different than air. There's a lot of steps between getting that development deal and getting the air deal. But getting the development deal is really exciting. It gets you to new opportunities. It gets you to all sorts of new ways to flex your muscles, as AJ said, like different skills, producing, directing, writing, all that stuff. So I applaud both of you for that path. And if that continues to work for you, I think, Blaire, you write now, from what I saw, for Kimmel, right?
Yeah. I recently started writing for Kimmel a couple of months ago. So, and I'm moving to LA. Yeah, I mean, that's my dream. That has been my dream job, honestly, for years. So it was insane that it happened. So I'm very, very stoked. Thank you.
Do you feel that what you did on Twitter directly got you to Kimmel?
Yeah, because the head writer sent me a DM on Twitter and said, "Do you want to write for late night?" And so, she, her name is Molly McNerney, and she uses Twitter to scope out, writers of color, writers who are women, writers who normally, writing rooms are so Harvard, Yale, and white, that it's hard to break in for a lot of people. And so she uses Twitter as a tool to scope out talent that usually wouldn't have, that opportunity, which is really cool. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. like I have my dream job. I'm going to do skits, I guess, on Twitter. And then, oh, your stuff on Twitter is amazing. I control your dream job. Do you want to work together?
It was insane. I mean, I still had to, I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression. I had to submit packets and I had to prove that I could do it. It wasn't just like, here's the job. But so I feel like I earned it in that way. I want everyone to know she wasn't like, you get a job. So, but yeah, it's people are watching, people are definitely, they have their eyes on TikTok and Twitter, and it's cool that this happened to us.
Cool. So just give me like a thumbs up when you can speak again.
I think I could speak. I wanted to chime in. I think it's important for people to understand that, this, in addition to using all the platforms however you can, really understanding what you want out of it, so that you don't risk burnout either. I think we've seen throughout all of the years that we've been online, we go all in on every single platform, hoping that, someone notices, or you're kind of trying to figure out the algorithms of each platform, posting, day in and day out. And what ends up happening is that, come a few months or years, you can't keep up because it's a constant chase. And so really understanding as a creator, as an artist, as an actor, kind of what you want to get out of it. If it is, a writing gig or a TV deal, or, a show, or you want to, act in indie films, or you want to produce your own thing, kind of mapping that out for yourself so that you can be as careful as you can from the very beginning and pace yourself, so that you can get to that point. And then to the other point that I wanted to kind of press on is that sometimes we get stuck in this game of numbers and likes, and that'll dictate how popular you become and how you're seen as an actor, creator who may want to work with you. But, on the sort of producing and directing side, or the production side, there are many different ways that we're looking at talent, right? And so one may be, oh, this talent, this person has a lot of followers or a lot of community. And so there's a brand kind of part of that may be attractive, right? And so that's like different, right? And then there's this sort of, filmmakers who are looking for actors who can speak to a certain role, and they don't really care how many numbers you have. It's just like how talented you are, really. And so it could be, we're just looking at the reel that you've posted and a couple of, TikToks that you do once a month. And that's enough to kind of give us the sense that this person is perfect for what we need. And so kind of really thinking about that and all the different levels of how people are looking at you to kind of help out and help you understand how much effort and energy you need to be putting into social platforms on a regular basis.
I just want to cut on that and just say, absolutely, like you have to know your goals in this business 100%. Whenever I meet with an artist, that's the first question I ask them, because it dictates any advice that I'm going to give them after that. And if I've met with actors who are like, oh, I want to get cast on TV and films. And I'm like, okay, you could audition and try your luck with everybody else, but you will have more power in your career if you take on some other roles, if you write your own show and make it. You walk into that room being like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not just an actor, so I deserve more power, right? I deserve that executive producer credit, which in like TV, it's like, you've got to be a writer. For your film, you've got to be a director. You have to have those chops. And I've seen it so many times where actors will make something and it doesn't go viral, but it's good. And the right person sees it, or they get it into a festival, or they send it to their friend and their friend knows someone in the writer room. And because they focused on their craft and they took that time away from social media to write, to direct, to get other experiences, they actually get the opportunities without having to get millions of views. So just wanted to totally underscore that Zadi's advice is exactly right.
So it tells me there's a lot of different ways to do this. so I guess I want to slight pivot to the kind of the classic, as you just mentioned, AJ, like the classic audition. Like, hey, I want to get more roles. So let's get more roles. I need to audition more, and thus I need to get the audition. So just because you submit for a role doesn't mean you get the audition. They have to select you to invite you to read or audition for it, and then or attrition, right? Like go on 100 auditions, book 3. I don't know what the number is. You guys are the actors, so you tell me if that's low or high. I really hope that's low.
It's high.
It's high. Okay. All right. Okay. So war of attrition. All right. So let's talk about the strategy of getting more auditions then. Okay. So let's talk about that part of the control process that you can do. Like as AJ Zadi said, because you can work on your craft outside, right? You can shoot your own stuff, write a role that really shows your chops, right? Play that on your social medias. It's all about getting more auditions, and the power of what Ryan and Blaire have built. I mean, Blaire, you're a writer now, but but if you wanted to get more auditions, the power that you have there. So I'm going to say this from someone who literally I am producing right now. I literally went through a casting process. So I'm going to comment on this first, and then you guys can jump in here. So we put an open breakdown out on Breakdown Express. So anybody, agents could see it. For an Actors Access, you could see it. Anybody could submit for 5 open roles. 2 of them were all ethnicities. So anybody could just jump in. Okay. Now there were ages of certain of them, but anybody could jump in, and thousands and thousands of people, just seas of headshots, right? What stands out? What's going to make that casting director pick that person to invite to submit a tape to that? And I would say, at least for me as a producer, and because I work on a lot of online shows, Twitch, YouTube, etc., the power of the social number is significant to me. It's not going to give you the job, but it can give you the audition. Like it auto gave people audition. Oh, that person's he wrote in his little note, 100,000 Twitter followers. Sure. like give that woman a shot, right? Like get that woman an audition, go for it. Like, blow us away. You still have to win. You still have to prove you can do the role, but that 100,000, 3 million TikTok followers, whatever it is, okay, was significant. And so this is something that I have encouraged people, actors listening to this, right? If you have a number, Ryan and Blaire, you have a number that looks good in some context, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 2 million, 10 million, you put that in your submission because it's not going to hurt you. It can just be the instant tiebreaker. It's like, your headshot's not quite what we're looking for, but 100,000, get that man an audition, right? Like that's my advice to you, and I'm going to leave it at that, and anybody can jump in to comment on that. Silence.
It's helpful to know. I'm just taking notes.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, like this really happened. A TikToker basically wrote in her submission. Granted, she looked really good for the part too, but she wrote in her submission, hey, I have 300,000 TikTok followers. Looked her up. Oh my God, she does. Get that woman an audition. Like, made the callbacks, right? Was she the best in the first round of the of the tape reads? She was okay. She was pretty good. Like she was, she wasn't like the top tier, I would say, but she made the callbacks, and we actually seriously considered her for it. It's like, would we have called her if that 300,000 wasn't there? I don't know. So I'm just putting it out there as like, you guys have that number and you're submitting, use the number. Can't hurt you.
Yeah.
Counterpoint or Blaire?
Well, no, I was just thinking, I'd never thought to do that. Luckily, I was able to get agents, and so they're submitting on my behalf, and I don't know what they're writing in the notes section. I would feel, and maybe it's just the imposter syndrome in me, or just being on the other side. I've been on the other side where I had 0 Twitter followers. I didn't have a Twitter, and I was auditioning for these roles, and I would be so pissed if somebody got an audition instead of me because they had more Twitter followers than I did, But I understand what you're saying is that like you built this platform, and obviously the girl on TikTok that you're talking about has to be talented and, to build that platform. And so, I mean, I think it's fair to say like, hey, look what I've already done. I've done this by myself, and have that on her submission. I've just never thought about it. That way. Ryan, have you?
I think yes and no. So
Yeah.
It definitely feels like a tool to leverage. And the opportunities I have coming to me now would not have been possible. I'm in the Detroit area. I'm not necessarily at some of the like hubs for entertainment and screen acting. And so the opportunities I have are directly a result from social media engagement, and I'm thinking about and trying to leverage those things for additional opportunities. But I feel there's an interesting balance you have to strike in order to keep yourself well, which is to have multiple motivations for why you make it. And so I think there's a part of what's new, and I think an adjustment for me is I am still a relatively new actor who's learning. And a lot of my focus has been on the craft of it. And I'm learning kind of the business of it as I go. And so a lot of what motivates me to act and to create is what it has done for me personally, like the way that it has helped me heal things in my life. I have a closer relationship with my family. I'm a better partner. I have a better relationship to my body. Those are often the things that are at the core of what I chase. Acting has informed my politics. And so it's great that there are a lot of people who click and like my stuff. It's great that I can use that to get other engagement. But in order to keep myself well, I kind of have to be double-minded, where I'm thinking about that, but I'm also thinking about some of the videos I'm most proud of have the least engagement.
Yeah.
Some of the videos that really resonate with people like at a deep, deep level are the ones that people didn't click on or share a lot. And so I'm trying to right now, as I get more attention, I've noticed my relationship to my phone is changing, and I don't want to be the person who in my life what? Like, I don't want to be that person all the time. And so I think this is an interesting thing to think about and reflect on, but also how do you keep yourself well, and how do you keep doing something even if you're not getting the clicks, even if you're not getting the engagement, but also like leverage it to pay your bills, girl. So there's that.
Zadi.
Well, thinking this through, there's almost like 2 sides to it. And in kind of right in the middle is this mental health conversation that's happening, and how do we keep ourselves well, and kind of giving the perspective of the creator and the actor who's making this and putting their heart and soul into it, and really worried on a regular basis that they may not have enough numbers. And it's great when you do have, numbers that you can, put on the table and say, I have 5 million followers. And of course it's going to set you apart, but it's not necessarily, the thing. Like you would still, like you said, Bernie, still have to be talented, right? Right.
Yeah.
And on the other side of it, right, on the production side of it, it depends, right? So it depends on yes, it's attractive that a creator has a lot of numbers, but it also may depend on if it's an independent project, right? Where you think, well, you know what, because this creator has so many has such a large audience, they may be able to help market the film at the end of the day, right? Or if it's a co-production or production with a bigger company or corporation, and they're doing all of the marketing, they have their marketing teams, they're always, of course, going to want creators and actors who have numbers, but there's a budget to kind of push out that marketing. So it may not be sort of the thing that gets you over the hump, like talent may still win out. So there is a balance and sort of a play there around, how numbers play into why a person's selected. Again, not saying that it doesn't impress. It always does. But we also, on the sort of strategy side of the equation, look deeper, right? So you may have numbers, but are you getting the engagement? You know, what percentage of that community that you say you have, how many are, you know, actually speaking with on a regular basis? Do you drive them places? So it's like, there's a lot to unpack. So it's not just likes and numbers that you can buy anywhere. Honestly, you can even buy comments right now if you want. You can kind of have a whole bubble of flurry conversations happening around a creator, and you think, great, but companies are really digging deeper now to really see how truthful that is and how much it actually is resonating with the person's community. So there are a couple of things to kind of balance out.
Yeah, I also think, just kind of as a little bit of a counterpoint, I saw Melvin Gregg speak at Chicago Ideas Week a couple of years ago. He's in like High Flying Bird, and he's been in other films, and he had built up a huge social media following on like Facebook, and this is back in Vine times, I think, as well. And I remember him very explicitly saying, and I was a little shocked, but it made a lot of sense, where he was actually like, I had to stop doing that to have an acting career in Hollywood. He felt like, it was taking up time and energy because he was doing so much of it, and he had millions of followers, but also he was like, casting agents and directors weren't perceiving him as a serious actor because he was doing silly videos on the internet. And I think that's because he wanted, like Zadi is saying, like a studio film career, right? He wanted to work with Steven Soderbergh and those kinds of people. And a lot of those directors, like Zadi said, they have a marketing budget on the film. They're really looking for that like art talent, right? And like, you know, Jessica Chastain never had to be on social media, right? Lupita Nyong'o never had to be on social media. There's a certain class of film where if you want to have that like Oscar, Emmy brand, sometimes doing social media work can work against you because it's not high art. I think, Bernie, you're like one of the few producers who's consistently produced for digital platforms. For any digital platform, they want those viewers, right? They want those followers because you're trying to drive traffic to links. I think it's going to be interesting to see, as Hollywood pushes to streaming and subscription, will they get over their kind of snobbery around what people having social media careers, because they actually are now in the business of having to like gain digital subscribers and get those hardcore fans to pay them directly for content month to month. It'll be interesting to see. I really want that like Yale drama, Juilliard school system to die, frankly, even though Yale drama is free now. So that's nice. At least you don't have to go into debt to become Jessica Chastain. But like, I don't know. I think there's a really interesting tension as Hollywood shifts. And I think we're waiting to see how does it shift.
Yeah, and to add on that, really, just, you know, like you have instances like Issa Rae and Bo Burnham and a couple, you know, actors and creators who have gone on to create their own shows and then have become actors in big budget films. When you look at and they've started on social, like you've seen those instances in kind of reverse engineering that and seeing how they actually played on social and what they actually did. And perhaps they weren't always on, but they kind of really selectively chose what to present in order to get to that place.
I would say the Issa Rae path is very similar to what Ryan and Blaire are doing, where they're kind of like, they're doing this one thing. They're not trying to, you know, gain.
I received that.
Right. And like eventually, you know, then the luck of the draw, right? Oh, I want to turn what you're doing into an HBO show. And Ryan's going to go, hell yeah. Like that. And then that will be that. So that path is very for Rachel Bloom, another good one, right? I will kind of just.
I think it's significant that those are all writers, right? Like they're actors, but they also all took their writing seriously.
And versus the history of this, let's give you guys a little history. So there was the era of Vine, right, as you mentioned, and Vine was just like, you know, like Jake Paul started on Vine and King Bach started on Vine, and they're still relevant today. But you don't consider them necessarily actors, right? You know, they weren't that. And there was an era where they're like, oh, you have 10 million people in Vine. We're just going to gift you the lead of a film. Like you're just the lead because we wanted to do that, which is drive the audience. And that era is not there anymore. It's gone. Okay. You may have an example of the She's All That remake with Addison Rae rather. But there's context there where she's actually trying to be an actor. At least actually, whether or not how serious, I don't know. I'm not making a comment. But I just think it's not just, hey, she's the biggest person on TikTok. Let's just gift her the lead of a high budget film. I think there's a little more nuance there where she's trying to go into this take this seriously, right? So there's that as well. So that definitely is still in play. I don't have the solution of, hey, I'm an actor watching this panel. I want to work on a Steven Soderbergh film. What's the alternative path to that success? I don't have an answer for you. I just don't know. Make more of your own stuff, I guess, with what JJ was saying before.
It brings me to my other question too, and I wanted to ask Blaire because I'm a huge fan, and I'm trying not to fangirl this entire time. But you were one of the people who has inspired me to make more and to put more things out in the world. And I definitely hear the points around the ways that people see and perceive acting online, but I'm curious around your philosophy around how you approach the characters that you do. And what kind of thought, because I think too, it's very common, like you make stuff online, people kind of have a perception of it. But like for me, I have written and arranged and performed things on the violin for background music of my videos. I have worked on accents that were like so specific that people were like, I thought you were from my hometown, or I thought you spoke that language. And I'm really trying to think about these as kind of exercises in character. And a lot of the, and I'll say a little bit of my philosophy is I was not necessarily someone who was interested primarily in comedic acting. I just wasn't getting to do it in class. And so I kind of wanted to experiment with it. I was told I was funny, but my philosophy on comedy is about the fact that one of my big heroes is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, because she plays comedy serious as a heart attack. She's never winking to you. She's never nudging and saying, I'm telling a joke. The circumstances are just as real. And when it's so real, part of what you get to laugh at is the cosmic joke of a person who wants a thing that they cannot have. And so when I'm thinking about like, yes, I'm making TikTok videos. It's not Veep. It's not that. But I'm thinking about how do I get closer to what that skill level is. And when I watch Blaire's work, I see a lot of skill. And I see a lot of like deep thought around characters. I would love for you to share what that looks like. Do you feel like it's a different philosophy for doing the camera than maybe something like for television or for stage?
Yeah, first of all, thank you. That means the world coming from you, because I'm such a fan of yours too. And that's really sweet because, I feel like we went viral at the same time. So, and there are people like you and Kylie Brakeman and Sarah Cooper and these people that I've like clung to, or just, I watch whenever I feel like I'm sad, because talking about burnout, just being online all the time, it's not good for mental health. And so I'm glad that mental health is playing a role in this discussion as well, because I don't know, Twitter is poison. But I always wanted to be a comedic writer and actor. So I kind of wanted to do the Mindy Kaling, Tina Fey sort of, singer-songwriter thing of acting and performing and writing your own stuff, right? But I just recently found my voice, that sort of satirical, dry humor. I just recently, during this time, found that that's sort of my strong suit when I'm, doing these characters, because I've always been kind of a sarcastic asshole, I guess, but I've never really tried to play to that strength, and other work, because I wasn't getting those auditions like you said. So I wasn't really getting a chance to do that in classes I would take, or even when I was improvising, I wasn't playing characters that I'm playing now. So I think it's just the circumstances and the muse of the world and, where we're living, the climate we're living in right now, that informed my humor. But it's recent, but it's something I've tried. I mean, I have tried to tweak it, the videos I'm making now are, pretty different than the ones that I started making back a year ago, because I have been trying to tweak it and improve, and I use them as exercises, like you said. But these characters, I feel like I have one character really, but I do like playing to that sort of dry humor, satirical side. And it means a lot that you think it's a skill. That means a lot. It's just me, my room, as you know, just doing a bunch of takes until you get the one that you want. And then, I don't know, it's not glamorous, but it's fun.
Awesome. Annoying everyone you live with, snapping at your boyfriend because he made a noise in the background, and you're like, let me put this wig on and look foolish. This is
not fun for anybody. I'm surprised we have partners.
And Blaire, you do something that's really brilliant, and I don't know if you're giving yourself credit for it, but it's something that kind of, when you start kind of unpacking all of what you're doing, is you're a great writer, you're a great actor, you're a great comedian, and then you hook it onto sort of the zeitgeist, right? And so whatever is happening now, the conversation flow, you're kind of riding that wave, so that whenever somebody somebody has more of an opportunity to find you more easily, right?
Yeah.
And then when they do, it's like, whoa, this person's really talented, right? You're not just doing it for the joke, you're doing it because it's coming from the heart, and people can see that. And so, having that layer of like hooking onto the zeitgeist, but then kind of then showcasing your talent is something that I think, really kind of speaks to how you can utilize a lot of these platforms and the internet in a healthy way when you choose to, right? You don't have to do it every day, but when you do choose those moments, and they're great, right? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to be choosy, because at the beginning I was trying to just put out a lot of content, and I was like, I have to make a video, after every newsworthy thing that happens, and that's just not it. No one should be doing that. I want to get into more like irreverent sort of silly things that aren't just based on the news, because it can get depressing. And again, I never saw that for myself, so it would, and I have been creating things, on the side that aren't just news based, but now I'm a late night writer, and that's the whole thing. But it is easier for people to find me when it's something that's trending on Twitter. And that's something I pay a lot of attention to. What's trending, what people are talking about, and try to make something out of that. But telling myself that I don't have to, if I don't have the energy to do that as well.
Awesome. I probably need to wrap up. So let's see, anybody else have anything for Blaire? Great.
Just one thing quickly. The other thing I feel like is really interesting, and this might be for a whole other panel, but I think is really interesting about the difference between this kind of performance online versus the performance on television or on film is one of the things that's really fascinating to me about your online presence, Blaire, is the number of people who don't know that it's satire.
Yeah.
And what the experience of not knowing what it's satire, and the difference between someone sitting down to watch a TV show and they know that they're about to watch jokes versus someone who comes across your material and thinks it's real and gets angry, and maybe they like it. That is often an interesting.
And just to clarify the audience, Blaire, you do a lot of content making fun of like Amazon and politicians and stuff like that.
I do. Yeah, I do. I feel like Ryan does the same thing, just in a different way. But I feel like people with satire, it's strange because they watch SNL knowing it's satire. They don't get pissed about anything on SNL, but I feel like it's just it speaks to just the collective dumbing down of the world, and that they need things spelled out. They always say you should put it in the title that it's satire, but it's just like you have to be able to think for yourselves. It's another conversation entirely, but it is it's scary.
But what Ryan is saying is completely fascinating and so true, right? When you think about making a movie, you know that it's going to be marketed on the big screen, on TV, it's going to be on a certain channel, or streaming. You know that you sit down and you watch it on the internet. You just don't know where you're going to end up. You may end up. Everyone's a network, everyone's a channel, everyone has their own audience. And so you just have to know that when you're creating, you may be ending up on a network that you never intended to.
Yeah. People using your clips, Blaire, as like actual commentary. It's like,
I was on Hannity.
Yeah.
I was on Hannity, and it was terrifying. I didn't want that for myself. It's not where I thought I'd be at 30 years old. So know that whatever you put on the internet, it can go anywhere. It will be there forever. And also I want to emphasize how random going viral is, because there's no blueprint to do it. And I don't want I've been one of those people in the past before this happened, wishing that I could go viral and trying to, making a video, maybe this will be it. And then it never was until it was, right? But it's so random, and it doesn't mean anything unless you're preparing beforehand, and you have, like everybody's been saying on this panel, write your own stuff, make your own stuff. Don't worry about if people are seeing it. I made a web series and it sucks. I made it 6 years ago. It's the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's something I made and I completed. I'm showing now, look, I can do it. I can follow something through, and I have vision. And so the internet is awful, but work on your own stuff. And then, when you go viral, you'll have stuff to show people. Am I making sense?
And it's great. And it kind of relates to the last wrap-up thing I have, which is, we have a lot of actors watching this. What is the advice we have for the actors, creators who are just starting out? Blaire, do you want to add to that? You want to say that's my advice?
I wouldn't remember what I said. That's my advice. I would love to hear Ryan's though, because I love what Ryan does. I love how silly and also thoughtful, and your stuff is so layered, but it's also goofy, and it's just something people can watch and immediately feel better. I feel like they watch my stuff and it makes them more depressed sometimes, but your stuff it's light and it also makes you think, and I love it, and it's different every time.
So the question is advice for actors or creators who are just starting out. Go ahead, Ryan.
So there are people here who can speak much more intelligently about the business aspects of it. So I will speak to the person, the actor, the person that shows up, that you are already doing it. You already have what you need. You are enough, whether you get the engagement or whether you don't. And as what Blaire said, some of what has happened for me was that an algorithm caught me on the right day. And there are people who are just as talented. There are people who are leaps and bounds more talented than me, but you are already enough. You already have it. You don't have to measure your success by anybody else's metric. That, like, I know that's probably not the most like sage business. This is what you need to do. Here's the business plan. Here's the blueprint. But whatever level of success or engagement you get, you are enough, and allow your craft to nourish you, whatever stage that you get.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Zadi, you'd like to go?
I can't emphasize that enough. It's probably the best advice that you can get. You are enough. And also, know what you want. We talked a lot about that. Just know what your goal is and go after it very diligently and kind of exacting, and know that, the algorithm is an ocean with waves and you are surfing basically. And so, while know that it is not indicative of your talent, of your level, like none of that. The algorithm is a computer. It is a robot trying to look for stuff that will sell things to people in order to make more money. And it is a cycle, right? And so you can choose to play into that. There are ways so that way you can benefit from it. We are in a capitalist society, however we want to play it. We are where we are, but the other portion of that is making sure you are taking care of yourself, your mental health, know your value, know that the algorithm has nothing to do with you and your skill level, and just make sure that you're always focused on that end goal.
Nice.
100% cosign, get a self-care practice, get some yoga, meditation, find a way to get all those other voices out of your head, the online voices, the casting directors, what have you. And for me, to really underscore what Blaire said, I would say write. I mean, there's lots of things you can dance, you can direct, you can choreograph, but like, if those are your skills, great. But like, if you can write, it will put you in the driver's seat of your career. You can write TV, you can write film, you can write theater, you can write a book, you can write copy for a brand, for an ad. If you get a brand deal, like if you know your writing, your voice, how to land a joke, how to deliver emotion, how to deliver a character, that will sustain you no matter where the waves go.
Amazing. I'll wrap with this kind of nugget. Totally agree with the mental health stuff. So I know I talk very pragmatically when I give advice. So it's like, please take care of yourself. All right. Like that's for sure. It's like, oh, grow the numbers, but please take care of yourself. But I'll say this. Yeah, I used to when I years ago when I first started in this, before all this social media stuff came about, you see the actor and the writer and the director. I always thought that the actor had it the worst because the actor couldn't control their own destiny. The actor was susceptible to things that, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too pretty, I'm not pretty enough, I'm too tall, I'm not looking like the person's brother, blah, blah, blah. Right? There's all these reasons that are not a talent thing or a work ethic thing that you could solve. It was just something that was just luck of the draw. The difference now, and of course, as a writer, I could just write. I could leave this panel right now and just start writing. I don't need to, have someone tell me I can't or can write. Okay. But the beauty of what the platforms have given you now is that for an actor, you can just do it. You can, if you ideally, I'm totally with AJ on the writing side. Yeah, if you can write good stuff. Ryan and Blaire seem to be doing just great with theirs. But let's say you're a little skeptical about that. Maybe you're not the most confident writer. Take other scenes out there and perform them on TikTok. There is a community there of people who just do this. They'll take a scene from WandaVision, do half the scene, and invite someone else to do the other half with them on TikTok. It's good practice. Grows your audience. It shows you're an actor. Easy to do. Very, very straightforward. And these people, I've identified a couple of them. I've reached out and said, just want to know who they are and, form they say, hey, you should know me, I should know you type of relationship. And I go, I'm not doubting they're not serious actors. they're trying to be actors. Sure, they're on TikTok, and the stuff on TikTok they may be a little extra, as the kids seem to say, right? But I don't consider them hammy actors. They're doing the TikTok thing, and they're growing their numbers there, and those numbers are real. So that's kind of my recommendation. If you're not as comfortable writer, there's a lot of stuff that's been written out there, scenes you love, things from like Harry Potter or Marvel or something. You can perform them on TikTok, and that's good practice. So you get better on the craft, you grow your audience, and hopefully that all combines together to provide you an alternate pathway to success. And with that is the end of our panel. This has been The Business, Alternate Pathways to Success. So on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences. I speak my panelists, your experiences, process, and craft with your fellow performers. My name is Bernie Sue. That is our panel, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.